All right, so officially welcome you today. So hi, everyone. Welcome to this ChatGPT in an HR World webinar. My name is Anna Manzano. I am the Digital Media and Event Strategist here at California Employers Association. I just have a couple of housekeeping details to go over with you. Your audio will be muted through today's presentation, but we always do ask for your participation anyway. If you have any questions pertaining to today's training, you can type them into the Q&A box at any time. We have the amazing Jessica here, and I will be working together to monitor the Q&A box. Handouts for this presentation were attached to the email you received with today's login link. I know we had some last minute registrations, so go ahead and if you didn't receive that handout, if you checked your spam folder and nothing was there, go ahead and drop your email into the chat box and I'll work on getting those sent out as soon as I can during today's presentation. Now that all that's out of the way, I want to officially introduce our trainers today. We are so lucky to have two experts today. We have Kim Guzman, President and CEO, and we have Jessica Rivera, who is our Training and Coaching Director here at the California Employers Association. Ladies, it's all yours.
Thank you, Anna. Hi, everybody. I will take HR expert as a title, but not ChatGPT expert as a title. But I am excited to be here with all of you today, and I want to remind you that whenever I speak, I try to say, take what you like and leave the rest. So the whole purpose of today is to just introduce you to what ChatGPT is. It's one of the many elements that fall under the umbrella of artificial intelligence or AI. And why should we care about it? Why should we pay attention? Because it's not going away. It's only here to stay. So let's make sure we grab the tiger by the tail instead of the tiger having us by the tail. Jessica and I are going to just kind of introduce you to ChatGPT, get a conversation going. We've got some polls for you to learn what you think about it and what you'd like to learn about it. And then the best part, this is going to be kind of a fun one because virtually we're going to play with ChatGPT live. So I'm going to speak for about 30 to 40 minutes. And then the rest of the time is going to be sharing my screen and showing you ChatGPT, taking your questions and really kind of playing around with it live. So please use the Q&A, the chat, whatever. I think the Q&A is preferred, but I know sometimes out of habit we use the chat box. Jessica's going to be watching that, and it's okay to interrupt me as we go through today's presentation. As you all know, we have been around since 1937 is when we were founded, and then we were incorporated in 1940 in San Francisco. And our whole purpose at CEA as a 501c6 not-for-profit trade association is to give employers, business owners, business leaders, managers, and supervisors peace of mind when it comes to HR compliance and training and all kinds of different services. And I do want to say, even if you've heard this spiel before and seen this slide before, anytime you wonder, do you do this service? Do you have this product? Could you do this for me? Ask us. So many of the new products and services that we come up with throughout the year are because our members and employers are asking us for things that we haven't thought of. In fact, today's presentation was because one of our insurance partners said, hey, Kim, could you just talk about HR and ChatGPT? And I was like, sure. And then we put this presentation together. So give us a call, send us an email, but connect with us because that's why we're here. It's to provide you with resources and support. Now, again, I am not an attorney. Jessica here with me today, she is not an attorney. We do have attorneys at CEA, but remember that we are not your retained attorneys, and therefore we can never provide legal advice. If you do need a legal opinion, then go ahead and retain your own attorney, and you can pay that fee and get that coverage and get what you need. But we're here to provide you with education, information, resource services, and support. And I'm going to ask Jessica to conduct a poll because before we get started, it's always nice to know who we're talking to. And by that, I mean, are you really familiar with ChatGPT? Is this your first experience? You've read about it, but you really don't understand it? Be helpful if we can know who's on up there today because we've got well over 100 of you who signed up today. So I'll let you take it away, Jessica.
Thanks, Kim. Here we go, folks. Please, if you could, let us know if you have your own ChatGPT account.
Getting
Okay.
lots of answers
We
here.
are getting, we're at about 65 answers, 74% participation. Give us just another few seconds and we will end the poll. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, here we go. Final results. Drum roll, please.
So, it's funny. So roughly I'd call it a 60-40. About 40% of you, a little more than 40% do have a ChatGPT account. The remainder of you don't yet, which is good because this will be, I hope, very helpful to you. And those of you who do have one, feel free again at any time, especially towards the end when we start playing around, to add your thoughts and input as to how you're using it. And that's in fact our next question.
Okay, here we go. All right, for those of you that do have your own account, what do you use it for? Please pick one.
Single choice only.
Yeah, and a lot of all of the above, Kim. Good. Good.
So again, now
Okay.
we'll be looking, when Jessica shows the results, we'll be looking at the 40% of you who said, I
Exactly.
do have an account. What are you using it for?
Here we go.
47% writing, research, ideas, or maybe your own personal use. And you might go, what do you mean your personal use? I've used it to create a recipe. You can use it for your kids' birthday party ideas. You could use it for how to plan a vacation. I mean, there's a million personal uses as well as professional uses. It looks like writing is the number one, which is 25% of the 42% of people. So they use it for writing. I would agree. Lots of great opportunities to use it in your writing, whether that's a newsletter, a blog, a report, a summary. So great. Okay, so we're going to talk about all that. So thank you. So for those of you who kind of really don't know a lot about ChatGPT, let's talk about what it is, okay? Now, this is funny because this is me typing in what is ChatGPT into ChatGPT. What are you? And it tells us this, and I'm going to read it, even though normally I don't read a slide, but it's important, and as we read it slowly, it kind of starts making some sense. But ChatGPT is an artificial intelligence powered chatbot developed by OpenAI, and it's based on generative pre-trained transformer language. And what that means is a chatbot actually is software that simulates human-like conversations in this case. And that's what's so unique about it. So you may go on, maybe you've bought something online, right? On Amazon or whatever, and you come up with a little bubble will pop up and make a boop. And then it'll say, can I help you with something? Do you need to make a return, or what do you need to do? And then you start saying, yes, I need to return this, whatever, and it talks back to you. And the idea is it's supposed to be like a person helping you, but it's not. It's a robot, right? And the whole point of a chatbot is to answer our questions. So it's important to remember this is not a human being, and it's not something that's smarter than us. It's really just designed to answer our questions, gathering, kind of, as they say on the web, spidering and collecting all the data that's out there, that's in the public domain, and there's a lot out there. It's collecting all that and giving us answers. And it is smart in the fact that it's growing and learning, and as it makes mistakes, it fixes its own mistakes, and it kind of keeps cleaning up its own language as it goes. Now, what's very interesting and why we should care, as I said earlier, why should we pay attention, is because it's not, number one, it's not going away. But the other thing is that it is truly changing how we're interacting because of the human-like responses. And for example, I typed in, I'd like to create a recipe for a dinner party of 6, and it gave me something. And it said, it started by saying, sure, that sounds nice. And then it gave me the recipe. It isn't more like the computer that just say a recipe is this. It gets very friendly with you And then we're going to play around with it. You'll see how it gets friendly. They'll say things like, sure, no problem, okay, things like that that make it sound very human-like. Many of you may know Mark Cuban from Shark Tank, and he also owns the Denver basketball team. And he has this great quote you see here at the bottom. He said, my 13-year-old just asked ChatGPT to write a trash talk about his buddy's favorite NFL team. And then he got that from ChatGPT and he texted it to him. And he said, things have changed forever. And I thought that is true, because whether you're going to use this at work, or we're going to talk about all those applications today, or many of them, or you use it just to create a funny joke, right now they are still on a strike in Los Angeles, the Actors Guild strike, right? And why are they striking? Because they're concerned that writers aren't going to be used as much. Maybe songwriters won't be used as much, because people are going to be using ChatGPT or other AI devices and software programs, because you can type in something like, write me a play in, with an intermission and 2 parts about 3 people on a rowboat in Italy, and it'll write that out for you. And then you can talk to ChatGPT and say, throw in a few more jokes, and it'll create jokes for you. So people are getting very concerned about, this is going to take my job or whatnot. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit today, because we can be worried about it, I'm not saying we shouldn't be cautious, but we can also utilize it to our advantages. It can really enhance your workforce. It can become like a personal assistant to you.
Kim, we have
Yes.
we have a couple of comments. One of the comments is, we have some basketball fans out there, and they say that Mark Cuban is the owner of the Dallas Mavericks basketball team. So they wanted us to honor him with that.
Thank you.
Of course. And the second thing is, we have a question for you. We have a question for you. And the question is, does CEA have a template for a policy on use of ChatGPT AI in the workplace?
The answer is yes, we do have a policy, and we designed it off of using ChatGPT. So we'll look at that today. That's a great question. So let's hold that one, Jessica, because we'll actually do it live. And so I typed into ChatGPT, help me create a policy. We're going to talk about what should be in your policies, and then you can edit it and change it to make it fit you and your needs. But yes, we do have something for you. Great question. So when we talk about new things, we all say things are new, and, gosh, the world's moving so fast, and it is, right? So this is a terrific slide that shows you when Netflix came out, and I think almost everybody I know has Netflix. When it came out, it took 3.5 years, believe it or not, for 1 million people to use it. That surprised me. Spotify. I have Spotify. It only took 5 months for 1 million people to use Spotify. And you can see the other things here. Instagram was pretty darn quick. But look at ChatGPT. In 5 days, when they introduced this on OpenAI, which is what we're going to use today, and I'm going to show you how to get your own account and everything. But it only took 5 days for 1 million people to jump on and the bandwagon and try it out. And it is free. And Jessica found a more stunning statistic. 2 months later, it was already at 100 million. So it went from 1 million to 100 million people using this. So that is why I'm happy you're here today, because you need to know what everybody else is doing. You need to know what 100 million other people are talking about. And you need to realize that whether they're an employer, or they're a job seeker, or they're a housewife, or they're a dog walker, or they're doing whatever, it's free for everybody. So at least understand it, know it, play around with it, and then make your determinations on how you want to incorporate it into your life. But like the internet, it's not going away. And in many ways, so much better than Google. And in many ways, very dangerous, and there's a lot of cautions that we'll talk about. So let's talk about that. All right, so I'm not, again, the expert. I'm just introducing you to what I've done research and learned, and I've used it in my own applications. So let me tell you, though, you saw that most people are using it for writing. And it really was designed for writing more than it was designed to be like an Excel. It's more of a Word doc than an Excel document. So while it can do data entry and it can do data analysis, it's really very, very good at sales and marketing. It can create content. So you can say, I would like to write an article about climate change. And you'll type into ChatGPT, give me information about climate change. Write me an article, 500 words or less, about climate change in Northern California or whatever. You can get very dialed down and it'll get going. What I like to consider it is, I call it, and you'll see later, a starter dough. So what it gets you going. If you're having writer's block, it gets you flowing. However, it may not always be accurate. And so it's a great way, though, to get the ball rolling so that you can edit it and change it and make it how you want. And so there are people that are, if you're a small company and you don't have a full sales team or a full marketing team, this is a gift for you, because now you can create your own weekly blogs. You can create newsletters. It can help you with your website. The chat bots we were talking about earlier, it will help show you. You can type into ChatGPT, how do I create a chat bot on my website? And it'll tell you exactly how to do it. It can write HTML code for you. As a salesperson, you could use it because maybe you're not the best wordsmith on how to follow up on a lead. So you say, how do I follow up on a lead? And it'll tell you the language to use to cut and paste when you send off emails. So you're not spending 25 minutes drafting an email.
Kim, we have somebody who just offered you another thought about this too.
Okay.
They say it does have some great tips on helping you produce formulas in Excel and how to organize your work product, similar to what you said. How do I do this and how do I do that? So they can help you in Excel too.
Yes, and it won't be an Excel spreadsheet that it'll give you, but yes, it can help you with formulas. That's a great point. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It just gives you information. And it's better, like I said, than going to the internet and saying, how do I do this? Because you have to go to 10 different sources. It will spit the information to you and you'll see how quickly it does spit it out for you. So yes, customer service, chatbots I mentioned, operations, data entry, it can help you. You can say, how do I automate this data entry task? How can I make this task easier? It can give you ideas on how to do that. You can take a whole bunch of data, dump it into ChatGPT, and by dump it into, you got to type it in there, or cut and paste it in there. And then it can tell you, it can summarize. You can say, here's 25 or 2,500 bits of information. Can you summarize this for me? And it can do that for you. Now, that's one of the cautions. Anything you put in there is out for the public domain. So if you are going to put in information, do not put names, addresses, social security numbers, any sensitive data. I wouldn't even put your company name. So if you're going to put things in there that you think you could say, like, we're going to talk about recruiting, but you could say applicant A has these characteristics, applicant B has these characteristics, applicant C has these characteristics, and here's the job description and which one meets the job description the best. But you don't want to put any names in there. So because of all this, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of people are very concerned. They're concerned, is this our downfall? Is this going to take jobs away from us? It may or it may not, but people worried about that when the internet came out too. People worried about that when the automobile came out. I was just in Oregon last weekend, and they finally changed the law that now you can pump your own gas in Oregon. Forever, they didn't want people to pump their own gas in Oregon because we're gonna lose jobs if we do that, if we have people pump their own gas. But the truth is, our world evolves and shifts, and we find other jobs for people to do and different jobs. But if it can take away jobs that are really taking a lot of your time and make you more productive and more efficient, isn't that a good thing? So that's the question for you to think. But similar to the chat poll that we did here today, writing content is still by and large one of the biggest things, but it is followed closely by analyzing data, analyzing a large amount of information. Again, it's one source, and that's the important thing to remember. Whenever you ask it and it gives you, that's one bit of information. So just like you would tell your children, you don't read one thing and assume it's gospel. You don't watch one television station and assume that's the only place to get your news. You need to have various things and verify and check your sources and your data. And you can even ask ChatGPT, what is your source of this information? Sometimes it'll give it to you, and sometimes it will not.
Kim, we have a
Mhm.
comment,
Sure.
which is a really powerful comment. And our member says there are no ads when you ask for information, which also makes searching for information so much easier. Yes, we agree.
Yes. You don't have to go, was it paid? Was that paid? Was that paid? Was that paid? To get down to the source. Great point. So because we're an HR company, really when I designed this, it was kind of, how can this help us in HR? We've talked about a lot of ways it can help you in customer service and marketing and sales and all kinds of things, can help you design a beautiful press release. We've used it for that at CEA. But what about HR? How is it going to make my job a little bit easier in HR? And here's a great slide that I won't read through, but this is like, boom, these are all the things that can help you do. And again, job descriptions. Nobody, who in the right mind wants to create a job description, right? And then you create it and you're like, oh, that doesn't even sound exciting. How is anybody going to want to apply for that ad when that job description sounds so boring? So you could literally have a job description, cut and paste it into ChatGPT and say, make this sound dynamic. Make this sound like the best place in the world to work. Your handbook, again, handbooks can be really dry, right? Sometimes, and maybe we were talking about your vibe creates your tribe. So if you have a certain culture that you like at work, then oftentimes you'll get a do-it-yourself employee handbook or do-it-yourself policy manual template. It really doesn't sound like you. So you either put your own spin on it, or also ask ChatGPT, make this more relaxed, make this kind of humorous. And it can take things that you put in there and make them sound different. And you can, again, just like I said with me, with ChatGPT, take what you like and leave the rest. You'll notice I have an asterisk by the fourth one here, checking human resource laws and regulations. And that's a big, wait a minute. And I don't say that because I'm trying to save my own job security here at CEA. I'm saying that because when it comes to specific data, we're not talking about a nice article about this or that. We're talking about what's the minimum wage rate? What do I do? How do I fire somebody in California and reduce my liability of getting sued? Things like that. That's when you definitely need many different sources, because that's one of the areas I've found the most problems. And I'll show you that. In just a second. I've got an example of where it gave us wrong information. In fact, I was telling Jessica, I typed in, who is the current CEO of California Employers Association? Spelled it all the way out. I didn't say CEA, I spelled our name out. It gave me an answer of somebody I've never heard of, and I've been here 21 years, and somebody I know was not my predecessor or that person's predecessor. So don't know where that came from. Then I said in 2023, still gave me the wrong answer. I did it 5 different, I said, you're wrong, try again, you're wrong, try again. And never got the right answer. So that's kind of an interesting point and scary also, right? Because A, why wasn't I in there? And B, what if it had said my name and then I said, well, what do you think of CEA? And it said something bad. So that's another thing where people are saying, ChatGPT will oftentimes say, I'm an AI robot and I cannot give my opinion. But sometimes people are manipulating the system to try and see if they can get it to give opinions on things. And that's where things can get, you have to be cautious. So we'll talk about that. But again, performance reviews. Have you ever had to give a difficult performance review where you had to tell somebody to something and have that difficult conversation, right? And Jessica Rivera is a pro at how to have a difficult conversation and do it in a positive manner. But you can throw that into ChatGPT. Kim's not coming to work on time. She seems to be disengaged in her work, and I'm unhappy with her performance, and I wish she'd get it together, right? You can type that in and say, please put that in a way that will be professional in a performance review, and it'll spit back some ideas to you. And here's the beauty of the fact that ChatGPT is not a person, and it's not emotional, and it is a robot, if you will, is that it's going to give you some real good direct answers without the emotional part in there. So give you some good words and sentence structure to use and put into a performance review. And if you're tired of saying, you're a great team player, type that in. What's a better way to say Kim's a great team player? Things like that. So again, I mentioned earlier, resumes, if it's a job applicant, you can feed in, here's person A who's applying for this job as a warehouse manager. Here's the job description for a warehouse manager. And here's applicant A, applicant B, and applicant C. Please tell me which one you think is the best and why. And ChatGPT will give you its own assessment. This is where you need to be careful, not only with ChatGPT, but with any artificial intelligence. There's nothing different about a software program than in real world when it comes to California labor laws. So you can't ask a person, when were you born? How old are you? Are you married? Are you pregnant? Do you have kids? You can't ask all these questions, right? There's all these do's and don'ts so that you're not discriminating in the interviewing and hiring process. The same thing goes with artificial intelligence. And there have been lawsuits already because some artificial intelligence resume tools are asking for things that somebody missed, like a birth date or a social security number. And so you can't be doing that with an artificial intelligence or any kind of a robot, just like you can't do it in person.
And we had someone ask on chat box, how long does it take to produce responses? So I did share pretty darn quick, which everyone will get to see when Kim shows us the live example shortly. It's within seconds.
Yes, seconds. It's mind-blowingly fast, faster than you could possibly type or talk. Really.
Or think.
I just used it this morning to create an agenda for a committee, and it gave me an agenda in about 2 seconds. That was beautiful. And then I edited it, and that took about 3 minutes, and it's done. So beautiful. Recruiting, again, interview questions. Don't we all feel like interview questions can get kind of stale and we ask the same ones all the time? So if you need to zhuzh up your interview questions, your job descriptions, whatever, that's a great way to use ChatGPT. I asked it, and that's why this is in italics over here and in quotes. I said to ChatGPT, can you please create an orientation program for new hires? And it gave me about 15 answers. I only put bullets on the first 6 right here because I just wanted to give you the idea. But again, you don't have a good onboarding program, or you haven't looked at your onboarding program in a year or two, put in yours and say, or just say, create a new onboarding process for new hire employees. And look at what it did. It thought of things I hadn't thought of. We don't normally assign a mentor. That was a great thought. It talks about on somebody's first day, talk with them about the goals of your company and the expectations you have of them. A lot of times on somebody's first day, all we do is go through paperwork, and we don't go through a lot of this. And again, you could even make your onboarding be a 3 or 4 or 5 day process or a month-long process if you wanted to. But it also brought in some other thoughts that I thought were great about scheduling a check-in, maybe a weekly check-in, a 30-day check-in. And it even brought in, are there any social activities that your company's doing? Maybe there's a staff meeting. Maybe there's a mixer. Maybe there's something, a committee meeting that makes you, oh yeah, we should invite them to that because that would be a nice social activity. That maybe there's a cleanup day your company's doing. So I just thought, gosh, great ideas. Jessica, maybe talk a little bit about this wonderful thing you found, because we're talking about how we use it as employers, but Jessica does a lot with recruiting and job seekers.
Sure. Thanks, Kim. Sure. And you can't open up any news media site and not see something about artificial intelligence or about ChatGPT these days with 100 million users. And I happened to come across one article where a job hunter had been looking for a role and she was getting Zippo responses, nothing, nada, and very frustrated. And she decided to have ChatGPT help her with her resume and her cover letter. And when she did that and started applying, she landed 3 offers in 10 days by the way they zhuzh up your resume, the way they give you different ways to think about something versus the standard same old vanilla, right? And she had a job within weeks after months of not getting any calls at all. So just another creative way to have another set of eyes look at your writing. How can I make it better? How can I create a summary? How can I make it more powerful? How can I add verbs versus just adjectives? What can I do to make it results oriented? So it was pretty amazing to read that article because it showed how it can be helpful to support us in our writing.
Great. So if you know anybody out there looking for a job, tell them to put their resume without their name or data into ChatGPT and ask them to zhuzh it up for them. I like that word zhuzh. I don't know
We
how to
did get a
spell that.
question on here, Kim, and it did say, did the job hunter use actual names? I don't know. All I know is that it doesn't really matter because this particular job hunter was on an international website, a news site. So her name is out there. So I would imagine that that
her name actually is Leah Graham, and she put all this on TikTok and but I'm looking at the whole article and I don't. She said she used it to generate a detailed resume, but she didn't say whether she put her name in it.
Yeah,
but she's very proud of her name now, and she's apparently a TikTok influencer. So
yeah, good point. Good.
She might not care about it. I wouldn't want my name out there.
Me either. Privacy is a good thing.
Couple more ideas before I know I'm watching the time to make sure we don't go too long before we start playing here. Performance management. Again, we talked about feedback, but performance reviews. Again, generally people don't like to write performance reviews, not even the self-review. But again, this can make things easier on those performance management, especially when you're trying to give people some steps, not only room for improvement, but growth within the company. Maybe sometimes it's not about a new title for somebody, but it's about opportunities for them to grow within the company, for them to take some classes, get some certifications, perhaps maybe they run a team, things like that. ChatGPT will help give you ideas on performance management and also on employee engagement. Again, maybe every year you have Employee Appreciation Day, right? That's a national holiday now. I don't even know what day it is, but I know it comes up on the calendar. And I go, what are we going to do for our employees this year? Because we think we appreciate them every year. Jessica, I appreciate you. I value you. But I need maybe some new ideas. So you can type in, give me some new ideas on recognition programs, how to communicate to my people. How can I just, work on my company culture? What are some new things I can come up with? So it's just one more brain working for you. And we talked about the pitfalls. So here's one of those pitfalls. This is a screenshot I took. And it'd be interesting, and maybe if I remember, we'll do it at the end here today, and I'll type it in again and see if it's changed, because, right, it's always growing, it's always learning. So what I typed in and did 3 to 6 months ago may not be the answer I get today. But today I say, what is California's current state minimum wage? I did this a few months ago. And it said the wrong answer. It said, as of January 1, 2023, California's minimum wage is 14 per hour for employers with 25 or fewer and 15 for employers with 26 or more. We know that's completely wrong. January 1, 2023, it was $15.50 across the board. But why is that wrong? Well, one of the key things I actually forgot to mention in the very beginning that I normally mention is when they built this in 2022, and they built this whole ChatGPT, all of the data was in through 2021. So when they were scraping things and building it, it was all data through 2021. And so how would they know something happening in 22 or 23? Sam Altman, who was the former CEO of Reddit, is the founder of ChatGPT and OpenAI, by the way. So this is really where you've got to be careful, because it's giving out a lot of wrong information. And so when you're talking about policies and compliance and labor laws, you better make sure you're very, very right about something before you utilize this information. The other things I just mentioned, data is going to be limited, right? It is growing and it is learning and it's building off of itself. So we'll type that question in and see what it says here. But by and large, this data in here is prior to September 2021. So that means there's a lot of outdated information, right? 2 years later, things are changing so fast. Plus, it's scraping things, a lot of federal things. In California is very different with our state laws compared to federal laws. The other things we already mentioned, kind of be worried and thinking about privacy, security, the accuracy, not discriminating when you use this. I think, I put down human resistance to change is a limitation because, hey, I didn't know about this until 6 months ago. Many of you don't even have a ChatGPT account. So we, as human beings, we don't like a lot of change, right? So that's a limitation on how quickly it's going to grow too. So,
A couple of comments have come up on privacy and
okay.
also, why the importance of that. And one question came up about the job hunter. Did they use company names or their name? And many times job hunters are actually still working. And, having that information out there, it's there forever, as Kim said. So you don't want your name out there asking to look at your resume. So by copying and pasting and having some control over what you input into ChatGPT, you can remove your company names, you can remove your name, any identifiable data that you don't want the whole world knowing about you. Privacy is really, really important with this because once it's out there, you don't get it back. So we may hear some more questions around that too, Kim, especially as you show some of your examples a little bit later on.
Well, and great timing for that question because you see the number one thing here, copyright infringement. There's already several lawsuits out going on right now saying, hey, people are ripping me off. I had ideas and plans and things that were copyrighted, and now ChatGPT is grabbing that. And maybe I'm quoting something, I don't even know where that source is from. I don't even know I'm plagiarizing, right? If I use ChatGPT as it is, if I don't edit it and change it and incorporate my own thoughts and words from a few different other sources in that, right, then I could be plagiarizing and not even know it. A lot of the colleges I know have software so that they can find out if students are plagiarizing reports and summaries and things that they're designing. Samsung did not have a policy on AI and ChatGPT, and two of their engineers were trying to figure out a better way to do what they were doing at Samsung. So they dumped in a ton of Samsung information, private information, company secrets on how things were being done. And then then it kicked back some ideas. Well, now that Samsung information went all over the internet, right? It went all out there. So anybody, it's now public domain. And so those people were fired for giving out company secrets. Because again, in their head, they were like, but I'm using this tool to help make things better here at the office. Yes, but you're also sharing our company secrets and our confidential information. So that's where you have to be very careful that you're not violating any policies for your own company or somebody else's. And that's why in your policy that you create for your company, you're going to want to outline what people can and cannot use it for. And so like in CEAs, it says things like, you can use it to help you write a newsletter. You can use it to help you write an email. You can, but always use it as a rough draft. Always know that you have to edit it. You cannot use it as standalone. Always check another 2 to 3 other sources to verify the facts. And then it says you cannot break any of our own company policies. You cannot violate any CEA company policies that exist outside of AI when you're working within AI. So those are the kind of things you'll want to look at. And then you might want to say, do I even need a system here at your own company for people to ask me, well, okay, fine, what about ChatGPT, but what about this and that and this and that? Because there's now a whole lot of other copycat. ChatGPT is kind of like Kleenex, right? And then there's all these copies of that. And so you really, these are good things to think about and realize that if you create a ChatGPT policy or an artificial intelligence policy or both, that it's going to be a living, breathing document. You're going to need to say somewhere at the bottom of it, this is a document that will continually be changing. It was last revised on August 29th, so that it's going to be a living, breathing document that never ends as technology improves. Okay, so we're at the real hour now where we really get to play here. And so let's first start with this slide. And I know that Anna sent everybody a copy of these slides, so you have these slides. You literally go to chat. You go to get an open browser, right, like you would do for Google or whatever, or Bing, and you type in chat.openai.com. When you do that, it'll say, do you log in or sign up? And so if you've never gotten one, you're going to go ahead and register an account, and you got to put in an email address. You can't fake that. It really needs to be an email that you get. And then you're going to go ahead and pick a password, and you're going to create an account. And that is free. If we didn't already say that once, let's say it again. This is free. Will this always be free? We don't know. And we do know that you can do ChatGPT Plus, where you do pay a fee. And it has more bells and whistles. I've not paid for that, but you can. Right now, it is free. That's how you sign up. Before we go further and I show you, I'm curious, Jessica's got another poll here. What do you think? Just curious, true or false, do you think you should allow your employees to use ChatGPT while at work based on what we've just shared so far in the last 44 minutes?
Here we go. Lots of answers. Quick on this one. Lots of Good, good. All right. We had about 70 answers. Let's take a quick look. Here we go, Kim. Take a look.
All righty. So it looks like we've got 42% saying true, we should let them use it. 15% saying false, and 42% understandably saying, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. So things to consider with your management team. What would be all the pros of letting people use it at work? What would be all the cons of letting them use it? We've kind of covered a lot, so you could use this slide deck for your management team meeting. Are you going to let everybody use it? Maybe certain departments, maybe only management, maybe not, but you'd want to put that into your policy. Do you need to create a policy? Should you create one? I would say absolutely, otherwise you have nothing to stand on. It's not going to be perfect, so don't get paralysis analysis, and then is it something that when you get it, you can just trust it? Or how do you want to talk about that? Are you going to consider it just a rough draft, starter dough, like I talked about earlier? But you want to put all that into that policy. Hey, don't. My dad still says, but it's told me at a very young age, you can't believe everything you read, and that's true. So this goes for this as well. Not everything that ChatGPT gives you will be accurate or truthful. So make sure you put that into your policy and think about that. What I will say on the good sides is that it really is a very powerful tool. We're going to see that here in a moment. It really can make you and your workforce more efficient, more productive. Yes, it has limitations, but this is definitely what we like to call, and with the catchphrases, this is a disruptor, not only for HR, but a lot of other industries. And for so many of you, like CEA, we're a small business. We don't have huge departments out there. So this is really helping us do more quicker, faster, and hopefully better. I think in addition to being on today's, you keep doing this. I need to keep doing this, which is learning, playing, experiencing, going on other webinars so that you really feel comfortable with this and you don't stop that. There's not going to be a day where you're done with that. Continue learning. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and we're going to take your questions, and then we are going to try it out here. So I'm going to stop sharing so I can pull up my real screen.
And we do have a question here. The question is, how can you really prevent anyone from using ChatGPT in the workplace or for work?
That's a great question. That's a very good question. I guess it's the same as how can you prevent anybody from doing anything? If you find out about it, you handle it, right? If I don't know that somebody's coming in late to work, I can't prevent it. But the minute I'm aware of it, if I handle it immediately and I have a policy around it that tells me how to handle it, that's going to be the best way. So you've got to have a policy first that says we will or we won't allow it. Because otherwise, if I came to you right now, if I'm working for you and you say, Kim, you're in trouble, I'd say, how would I know I was in trouble? How would I know? I didn't even know we had a policy, whether I could or I couldn't. So you do need to address it, create a policy. And then when you've been made aware of somebody not following the policy, you handle that with performance improvement plan, discipline, up to termination, depending on what the violation of the policy is.
We also have a comment from one of our members, Kim, and they say if you are doing it on the internet, you can set policy in the firewall to not allow access to the URL on the firewall, which we know we've seen that sometimes with firewalls with many of our members on certain things that come in from different folks or that they access.
So I'm guessing then that would mean talk to your IT company or if you have internal IT, which we don't, we have an outside IT company, and be talking to them. That's great, excellent advice. Talk to them and say, hey, we don't want people using Instagram at work or Facebook or whatever. Now, remember, people still have their cell phones, and that's their little mini computer in their hand. But yeah, I'd say that's a great idea. Talk to your IT company if you really don't want them doing certain things, and see what limitations can be put on your server. Great point. Excellent point. Okay, Jessica, you see my screen here okay?
I do. Looks good.
Okay, so you see here, what's interesting is that it's already giving you some ideas. I thought that, how use this to plan a trip, help me pick out a birthday gift, help me come up with a concept, help me create a workout plan. So a lot of personal things is what they're showing here. But I'd like to take some questions from you. But before I forget, I want to type in, what is the minimum wage in California in 2023? And I just want to show you how quickly you get an answer. Okay, so you see how fast it is? So this is interesting. First of all, it's different than the last answer I showed you, right? I'm sorry, but I don't have access to real-time information as my knowledge was last updated. What did we say? September 21. As of my last update, minimum wage was on a path to increase, reaching blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot of old data. So basically, it didn't give us an answer. Last time it gave us the wrong answer. This time it didn't give us an answer at all. Curious if another question, anybody have a question they'd like to have me play? Because I just want to show you in real time how quickly things happen. I'm going to say set up an agenda for a fun committee at work. Show you how fast it does that. Now you notice here it has my initials first, KG, Kim Guzman in red, and then there's the answer. Now again, I would love to have timed that, but I think it was less than 1 second.
Right.
And what did it do? It told us this whole thing about why we should have a fun committee. It can increase employee morale, make an engaging workplace. And then look what it does. It says, it's so thorough is what impresses me every time I do this. It tells me, here's the agenda, date, time, location, do a welcome. Only show 5 minutes for that. Here's what you do during the welcome. Here, you should review your last meeting if there was one. Now brainstorm for new ideas. And I mean, it's I mean, do you know how long it would have taken me to come up with an agenda for a fun committee? At least probably 15, 20 minutes to think on it. And then I probably would have forgotten something. Now I can use this. Look at it's giving me 11 things, including closing the meeting and telling everybody thanks for coming, and gets me ready for the next one.
So Kim, what if we don't like this? What if it's too long, too laborious? What if you don't really like it or you want something different? What would they do? What would we do?
So we've got two options. If you don't like this, you can do two things. You can say regenerate and have it give you a whole new thing. Now it includes an icebreaker instead of introductions at the very beginning. It changed some of the timing here. It added logistics and preparation, which it didn't have last time. So it really changed it. And then look at what it asks me. Was this a better or a worse one? I think it was better. That's how it's learning. When you tell it, it's learning from that. The other idea, I said there were two ways you could say, this agenda is too long, shorten it. You don't have to say please, or I'd like, you don't even have to say, give me a short, fun committee agenda. That's the other part, is that this is continual, right? If we were using the internet, we'd have to type in our question from the beginning every time. In the case of this, it knows what we were already talking about, and it just continues the conversation. So now it gave us a more concise version, short and sweet.
Yeah. And someone mentioned you can just type in shorter in the box here and make it do it better. Another comment that just came through, Kim, was you can ask it to translate it in Spanish for you if you have a bilingual workforce, and it can do that for you also.
I like it. I like it. That's an excellent point. Let's see that. Translate this into Spanish. I didn't even need to say agenda. I just could have said translate. Here it is. Yeah, that's amazing. Now,
even
again,
our bilingual folks couldn't do it that fast.
That's right. Now, would you have a bilingual person look this over and edit it? Sure, because who knows if this is right? I don't, because I don't have to speak Spanish, but you'd want to have this checked out. But I love that. That was a terrific idea. That's a great idea.
We have a lot of conversation going on in the chat, Kim, about should we let people use it? Should we let our workers use it? I wonder if we should ask the question in ChatGPT, should we make it available to our employee staff? See what ChatGPT tells us.
Yeah, I can't even type it right. Let's see. Hopefully it's not in Spanish anymore. Nope. Okay. Okay. This is a great one. Thank you, Jessica. Excellent thought. So now you can take this and it's going to give you pros and cons, some of which hopefully we've covered today, but maybe some other things to consider.
And this could be the starter dough that you mentioned too for our policy or our agenda to talk about this in our company.
Yeah. And I want to direct your attention also to the left-hand side of the page here. So you can see it kind of keeps track of things I've done today, things I did 7 days ago, things I did in July, right? In June, in May, and April. So that's, I think, kind of interesting. And I'd like to see if what happens when I go over to one of those. Remember, I said I came up with an agenda for an open house committee. I think I was talking with you about that, Jessica, this morning. It saved it for me here. And I have to say, I've never gone back and looked at something it gave me. So you can even go back. Again, I'm learning every time I use it and play around with it. So interesting.
We have a question here, Kim, and a couple of them actually. One is, how long does it keep your history? Do we know that? Maybe we ask them. Maybe we ask ChatGPT.
Yeah, I see right now that it's got February for me, which was 6 months ago. So how long does ChatGPT keep my history? Now this is interesting because let's see. Oh, there it is. All right. Okay, see, now this is not right either, right? It says it contains customer data for 30 days. Which is right now we know it's sitting there 6 months on my left-hand side. So yeah, don't know about that.
And the other question we have, Kim, is do we need to let our clients know our company uses this tool if it's only for internal matters such as meetings, onboarding, etc.?
I don't know the legal answer to that at all. That's a great question. I don't even know the answer yet on, if I use ChatGPT to help write a newsletter article, should I be disclosing at the end of that this article was written with the use of ChatGPT? I don't do that now. By law, do I need to? I don't know that answer, but it's a great one, and we'll try and look into that for you. When do I need to notify people internally, externally? I think one of the things I'm doing, thinking that I'm covering myself, is I never use anything directly out of there without giving it full credit. So if I did use something directly out of there, like on that slide where I said, what is ChatGPT? I asked ChatGPT, then I put it in quotes and I use the source that this came from ChatGPT. But 99% of the time, I never use something directly out. I use it, and then I edit the heck out of it, and I pull other resources, and then I make it my own, like I would, and so that I'm not plagiarizing. But yeah, it's still so new, and I think there's a lot of lawsuits brewing, but not any of them have been, settled. So it's like we almost have to wait for lawsuits to happen and then settle the lawsuits to get case law on what is and is not allowable, and it's moving so darn fast. So we got about 2 minutes left. Do we have anything else we want to end with before I turn it back to Anna?
Let me see if we have
for my own selfish reasons. Who is the CEO of California Employers Association? Let's see if it's me yet. Let's see if I'm who I think I am. Mark Wilbur. No. Mark Wilbur happens to be somebody I know who's the head of the Employers Council down in LA, but not the California Employers Association. So I'll have to call Mark up and let him know that he's apparently taken my position.
Or you could put in Sacramento. Who is it in Sacramento?
Well, but there's only one California Employers Association. Let me do this. No, not
Wrong.
right.
Good.
There you go. And
in
then I'll
Sacramento.
do it. Let's see
Good. Let's see what they say.
And I could have done regenerate, I suppose. I apologize. Well, see, it's apologizing to. Remember we talked earlier how it talks like a person. I apologize.
Yeah.
So they don't know, So apparently I am not doing a good job with my branding and press releases. I got to get out there.
Well, and one of our members says she got the wrong answer also. Well, she must have typed that in too for you. So Kim, we got to get your name out there.
That's right. Well, I'm going to stop sharing now so that we're right at 11 o'clock. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I can't thank you all enough for being a part of this today, this journey, this learning, and thank you for all your grace since I'm not an expert on this topic.
I think it was great. This was very informative. I might go get myself an account now. Awesome. So again, a little bit of housekeeping at the end. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Jessica, for your amazing training, your expertise, your engagement today. Awesome engagement, speaking of, in the chat today. Really insightful questions, really, really valuable comments. Speaking of the chat, I did drop a link into the chat minute. Again, thank you all for not only being CEA members, but for attending this training today, for your time, for your engagement. We really look forward to continuing to provide you with additional peace of mind. So go fill out that survey, and we will hopefully see you on an upcoming training soon. And thank you all for your time. Cheers.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Bye.